everyone, ready to unlock a superpower.
A superpower?
Yeah, one you probably didn't even know you had. It's mathematical modeling.
Okay, I have to stop you right there. Mathematical
I
modeling.
know, I know. Sounds kind of intimidating, right? But trust me, it's way cooler than you might think and way more useful.
All right, you've got my attention. What's so cool about mathematical modeling?
Well, it's not about dusty equations or anything. It's about thinking like a problem solver, using the tools of math to kind of break down challenges in the real world.
Okay, so like what kind of challenges are we talking about? Give me an example.
I mean, it could be anything from planning the perfect road trip.
Oh, I'm always up for a good road trip.
Right. Or, even understanding how information spreads online, it's about applying those mathematical principles to real life.
Okay, I'm starting to see what you mean. So where do we even begin? Is there like a guidebook for this superpower?
You're in luck. We have this awesome document that breaks down how to master these skills step by step, almost like leveling up in a video game.
All right, now you're speaking my language. Level up my mathematical modeling skills. Let's do it.
I like your enthusiasm. And just like in a game, we start with the basics. So this document, it highlights the early stages, like stages 2 through 4, as all about asking the right questions.
Asking questions. Isn't math about finding the right answers?
Well, yeah, but to get to those answers, you got to know what you're even looking for, right?
That makes sense.
Like, even think about those aha moments you see in kids when they finally get a concept. It often starts with asking why.
I see what you mean. It's not just about solving the problem that's put in front of you. It's about figuring out what the real problem is in the first place.
Exactly. And this document, it really emphasizes this shift. Going from just solving whatever problem is given to you to actually figuring out which questions are going to help you use a mathematical approach to get to a solution.
So like being strategic with your thinking even before you start crunching numbers. I like it.
Exactly. And I noticed the document even mentions using drawings in these early stages.
Oh yeah, visualizing information is huge, even for adults. It's way easier to understand a complicated idea when you can actually see it, right?
Totally. A picture's worth 1,000 equations or something like that, right? Okay, so we've moved on from those drawings, but this document, it shows things getting even cooler as we, level up our skills.
Level up. I like where this is going.
Right. Stages 6 through 8, they sound seriously official.
Yeah, they do. A little bit.
Like, we're talking about organizing data, choosing appropriate models. It feels like we're, stepping onto the field for the big leagues of mathematical modeling.
Okay, so we've moved past the kiddie pool. Gotcha.
Exactly. What's your take on this next level?
Well, it's like we're upgrading from that toy telescope to, using the Hubble, right? But at its core, it's still about finding the right tools for the job at hand.
I like that.
For example, let's say you're trying to figure out how much your savings are going to grow over time.
Okay.
Adding up the numbers, it might work for like a year or two,
Yeah.
but to really understand how compound interest works, you need a model that gets how exponential growth works, right?
So it's like matching the type of math to the heart of the problem.
Exactly. You don't just want to grab any formula that looks fancy.
You're right. You've got to choose the right tool for the job. And speaking of choosing the right tools, this document really stresses the importance of validating your results.
Validating, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's like when a recipe calls for a pinch of salt, right? You kind of have to taste as you go and adjust based on your own, experience.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because in real life, that pinch of salt, it can be the difference between a delicious meal and a total disaster, right?
Totally.
And speaking of real life applications, this document, it doesn't stop at, baking analogies. It takes us all the way to stages 10 through 12.
Stages 10 through 12. That sounds intense. What's waiting for us at that level?
Things get seriously next level, my friend.
Okay, give me a sneak peek.
We're talking about models that can deal with the kind of complexity we see in the real world.
What kind of complexity?
I mean, think about situations with lots of moving parts, lots of uncertainty, what-if scenarios.
What if scenarios? It sounds a little less intimidating and a lot more like how my brain already works.
Right.
Maybe there's hope for me with this mathematical modeling thing after all.
See, I told you it wasn't just about complicated formulas.
So walk me through one of these what-if scenarios. What does that actually look like in practice? All right, so for a what-if scenario, let's say you're trying to understand how traffic patterns work in a city, right?
Okay, I like it. Traffic is definitely something I have experience with.
Right, so a really basic model. It might tell you how many cars are on the road at a certain time of day.
Makes sense.
But what happens if you got to close a lane for construction?
Oh yeah, that never goes well.
Or what if the city decides to add a new bus route? These are pretty complex situations, right? They require models that can handle those changes and then predict those ripple effects.
So how do you build a model that can deal with all that?
That's where simulations come in. Simulations actually let you test out different what-if scenarios within the model itself.
Oh, cool. So it's like having a virtual city to experiment on
Yeah, exactly.
without the risk of causing any real-life traffic jams.
Right.
That's seriously cool stuff.
It's pretty amazing what you can do with these models.
I mean, it's incredible. We've gone from talking about how many cookies can I eat before dinner
Yeah.
to like simulating entire cities.
It's a pretty wild ride, this mathematical modeling.
I know. And what I love about this document is how it shows that mathematical modeling, it's not just for rocket scientists.
Right, it's for everyone.
It's for anyone who's ever looked at a problem and thought, I wonder what would happen if.
Exactly. It's about harnessing that natural curiosity we all have and giving it some structure. Giving you the tools to explore those what-ifs. And you know what else is cool about this document? It doesn't shy away from emphasizing how important communication is.
Oh, interesting. Why is communication so important at this level?
Well, even when you're working with these advanced models, even at these advanced stages, being able to explain your models, explain your findings clearly, it's crucial.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, what's the point of having all this amazing insight if you can't share it with other people in a way they'll get?
Exactly. I mean, imagine you're trying to convince a bunch of city planners to adopt a whole new traffic system based on some super complex model that they don't understand.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Right. So you've got to
Okay.
bridge that gap between this complex math and these real-world decisions. It's so key.
That's a really good point. I never really thought about it like that. It's almost like you're like translating from one language to another, but
Yes.
instead of words, you're translating like numbers and models and stuff.
That's a great way to put it.
So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive on mathematical modeling, I gotta say, I'm kind of blown away. It's not just about math. It's about a whole new way of like looking at problems no matter how big or small.
I totally agree. It's about knowing the right questions to ask, knowing which tools to use, testing your assumptions along the way, and then, of course, communicating your findings in a way that's clear and compelling. These are skills that are valuable, in every single field, right?
Yeah, totally. Whether you're analyzing data or designing products or just trying to make a little more sense of the world around us.
Exactly.
So for our listeners today, what's like the one big takeaway you want them to walk away with? Because I feel like we've just like scratched the surface here.
Yeah, I agree. But I think the biggest takeaway here is that mathematical modeling, it's not this scary thing.
Yeah, it's definitely got a bit of an image problem, maybe.
Yeah. Don't be intimidated by it. It's really more about the thinking process than anything else.
Yeah.
What patterns are you seeing in your own life? What are those what-if questions that, keep you up at night? Those are all amazing places to start applying a little mathematical modeling magic.
I love that. So there you have it, folks. It's time to embrace your inner mathematical modeler. And hey, if any of you come up with like any world-changing models, be sure to let us know because we'd love to hear about them. Until next time, happy modeling, everyone.